Channel 79, we're on the record.
We're on the record.
Okay, this is the Environmental Protection Commission regular meeting and public hearing for Wednesday, January 9th, 2019. Happy New Year, everybody. Old business, EPC 35, 2018, Seagate LLC, 10 Webster Valley Road, proposing a driveway crossing in a wetland to access new house construction and related site disturbance in an upland review area. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 23 as lot number 97. The public hearing was closed December 5th, 2018. I believe the members have a draft of the approval. So are there any comments?
I wanted to talk about condition 5 on page 3. So we're, of course, requiring them to report on the status of the restoration enhancement. And I'd like that to include just a verification that the soils are still wetland soils in the newly created wetlands.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're talking about plants and so
Right.
forth, but I want to make sure, because they're creating a new wetland, and that's the big part of the enhancement. I want to make sure that
I would
stays
say,
a wetland.
I'll word it that the, confirm that the hydrology is
Okay,
still wetland hydrology.
that's fine. Thank you.
On paragraph 6, on conditions, who does the annual inspection? That'd be my, is it someone from our commission?
No.
Rich, you do that?
No,
or-
they're required to do it and report to me.
So you get a written report, yeah,
Yeah, just a status report, and,
which goes on the file.
yes.
Yep.
And you do get these on a regular basis, because obviously we as a commission don't usually see the regular reports.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of, projects with, either wetland creation or large-scale invasive removal and planting, but we do have a few, yeah. Sometimes in the, conservation easements, I'm thinking of one on Mansfield that went very well. But yes, they're pretty good about it.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? No typos, Mr. Miller?
No, sir.
Okay, then, given those... Given those changes, I'd like a motion to approve this letter. Thank you, Susan. Gunnar? Thank you, Gunnar. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Moving on. The next is EPC 38, 2018, Brian and Daria Chase, 10 Holly Lane, proposing a replacement house and related site development within an upland review area. This site is shown on Assessor's Map number 9 as lot number 150. Public hearing was closed December 5th, 2018. The commission members have a draft of that approval. So, are there any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Well, in this, we didn't say anything about 3 years, we only say about 1 year. Is there a reason?
That's what you've typically done for planting.
Okay,
Because we were
And
creating a
replacement.
wetlands, et cetera,
Right.
and it was much more of a disturbance.
okay.
Well, also, the invasive removal is much more difficult. It does, a year is not enough.
Yeah,
Whereas,
okay.
it's fair to have the plants, after a year, they replace them, and then after that, they're kind of on their own.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
anybody else go now? Mr. Millard?
All good at my answer.
2 in a row. Okay, may I have a motion to approve this application? Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Lucia. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the public hearing. EPC 40, 2018. Excuse me if I get this wrong. Saruba Gupta, 73 Holmes Avenue, proposing replacement house and related site development within an upland review area. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 48 as lot number 106. Mr. McMahon.
Good evening. The record is Brian McMahon, licensed professional engineer with Reynolds and Mead. here tonight on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Gupta, who are here in the audience, for the application relating to 72 Holmes Avenue. You may remember from last month's meeting, just as an overview, the Guptas are proposing to demolish and the existing residence on the property and to reconstruct a new single-family residence with associated driveway and related site work, drainage improvements, utility services, et cetera. It's a pretty standard application, I believe. It's a fairly small lot. It's just under half an acre, about 20,700 or so square feet, right on the bend of Holmes Avenue. At the northerly edge of the site is a pocket wetland. A brook runs along the westerly edge of the property, goes below a culvert under Holmes Avenue and proceeds south. As you can see from here, and you may have read in our application materials, the proposed construction will result in a decrease in the amount of impervious coverage on the site, but in accordance with Darien regulations, we have assumed, obviously, for the purposes of our design, that the site is undeveloped under current conditions. The total area of structures on the site is really, we're going to remain neutral. There's about a half a dozen extra square feet of building footprint under proposed conditions than there is under existing, the combined existing house and the shed. There is less pavement associated with the proposed construction, less decking, less walks, and the net result is that there's almost 400 square feet less of impervious coverage on the site under proposed conditions. Some of the things that you had mentioned last month that you might be interested in included the potential for sump pump discharge. You asked if there was a sump pump proposed, and indeed there is. So here's the proposed house, driveway, walkway, decking, and as I mentioned last month, what we are proposing to do in accordance with the Section 880 is we are proposing a system of stormwater infiltration galleries in what is proposed as a certain amount of fill that is encroaching into the 50-foot wetland setback. Together with the drainage system, we will need to install drainage inlet, some piping, infiltration system, and some overflow piping down to a level spreader that'll be located within the wetland setback outside of the wetland limits. As far as the sump pump discharge, you will note on our plans that we have included, as I mentioned last month, a connection for a sump pump that the Guptas plan to put in their home. You asked last month how the existing house behaves with groundwater and sump pumps. We have been to the site, into the basement, observed the basement. There are no visible sump pumps. The Guptas have monitored the basement, including over the past several months during some of the heavy rains. There has been no water in the basement. The basement slab elevation right now is, let me just get this right, communicate it correctly. Basement slab elevation right now is at elevation about 42.6, and that sort of makes sense because the site slopes down in what I believe is fill all along here down to the flat area where the wetland is, and 42.6 is roughly equivalent to the open flat lawn area within the wetland setback. We are proposing, as part of this application, to raise the proposed elevation of the basement slab by about a foot, a little over a foot, 1.2 feet, to 43.8. And so the basement slab elevation and the finished floor slab elevation will both be elevated higher than under the existing. That said, and in the interest of protecting their investment, the Guptas are proposing, although we are anticipating it will not run frequently, a sump pump for protecting the basement. Some of the other things that you had mentioned last month, disturbance to the wetlands in the buffer zone. We are not proposing any disturbance within the wetland limits. We are proposing, as I mentioned, fill within the setback, the 50-foot setback to the wetlands. We did, when we originally prepared our plan, this plan here, which is on the record, we had done so without the benefit of any soil data in the field. We have since then observed a couple of soil test pits in the field, and one in particular right near the south end of the infiltration system, and the soil test pit was down to an elevation of right about equivalent to the existing basement slab, and there was no water observed. There was no evidence of seasonal high groundwater observed. There was another test pit in the back of the house that was observed that's fairly irrelevant, I suppose, to the infiltration system, but again, it was there was no water or evidence of seasonal high groundwater observed in that hole as well. And so we actually think, we are actually considering, we are requesting approval as proposed with fill in the wetland setback, but in the interest of minimizing the cost for the site work, we are actually believe that we can propose to lower the infiltration system by as much as 18 to 24 inches from what is proposed now, which will just have the effect of reducing the amount of fill altogether, and mostly within the wetland setback. You had mentioned passing any removal of trees within the wetland. We are not proposing any tree removal in the wetland. We are proposing some tree removals on our erosion control plan within the wetland setback. They are large trees, and the Guptas are concerned strictly for safety. That they not, they're in and around the wetland, the root system may be, get saturated, and they're just proposing that out of concern for safety that they might fall over. We are proposing some tree clearing along the edge of Holmes Avenue as well, but obviously that's well out of the 50-foot setback. So the sump pump we spoke about. We did get comments from Mr. Ostafan in DPW, and they were all, at the time he had not had the heat test hole, but we have since provided that information to staff. But all of the comments I believe are straightforward and as necessary, easily addressed. So that's really the overview of the proposal here. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions that the commission members may have.
Go ahead.
So how many trees might be, I was over there today, I looked around, so where, could you point out, like, as much as you,
In the wetland setback?
where they are?
I do, actually. I'm going to clip this off. It's on our erosion control plan, the next sheet. They're shown as being Xed out. 3 trees that are within the wetland setback. So you see them right here.
Okay,
here.
you need to,
Oh, I'm sorry. So you can see the trees right here, 3 trees right here, here, and here, all located within the wetland setback.
What evidence is there that there's a problem, other than just?
I don't think there is, to be honest with you. I'm not aware of that there's a problem, but I think out of an abundance of caution, and if I'm misstating it, Mr. Gupta will correct me, out of an abundance of caution, the owners would, are preferring. I also know from the owners that they don't feel so strongly about it, that they care to have that be a sticking
How
point.
close are they to the house? I mean, roughly
It's 20 scale, so it's 80 feet.
80?
This one is 60 feet or so here. They're very tall. They're very large trees.
Have you had a professional arborist take a look at them?
We have not. And I am not an arborist. I did observe the 3 trees. I did, 2 of them when we were on the sites, just visual inspection, seemed to be healthy. One of them seemed to be distressed, but I am not an arborist, and the Guptas have not engaged in arborist.
If I may?
You can, sir, you'll, when the applicant is finished proposing, you'll have your
This is
chance.
the applicant. Oh, that- that- I'm sorry.
So if I may, the
Can
large...
you introduce yourself for the
Sorry,
record?
Saurav Gupta, the co-owner of the property.
Thank you.
The two large trees that are, I guess, the most closest to the wetland, if you lean against it, it is very unstable. Why that is, I don't know. And that's the largest tree and the tallest tree. That's the only reason we're proposing that we remove it. But if that's a concern, we are happy to replant, a different tree that's more stable. So we are happy to replace the tree. We're not saying we remove completely. Obviously, that's our preference, but we're happy to replant equal number of trees that are more stable, more, again, just for safety concern. If that's a concern, we can evaluate
Well,
if we
we're
can.
not arborists either.
Yeah.
So, I would feel more comfortable having the report about a professional arborist, and if he or she felt that was unsafe, then obviously
Right.
that's.
So that's the only
realistic.
concern.
Then it's
But-
not, then it's not a discussion.
Right.
Okay?
I do those administratively typically. If-
Yeah, you can
if I
handle
have
that,
a-
Rich.
If there's an arborist report that a tree is,
Yeah.
and it makes sense.
Yeah, get some arborist out there, he can discuss with Rich and the decision, and Rich has the capacity to make that decision.
Okay.
Okay,
Just curiosity,
so,
what is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
what I'm interested though is creating a buffer, if you will, by the stream. Okay, a buffer by the stream that's, bushes, things like this that are not, they're clearly not jeopardize the safety of any structure, but will hinder, people and balls and, stuff like that, from going into the stream. And that's, I'd be interested in your comments there.
You mean from replanting perspective?
Yeah, I just, because right now I don't, as when I observed, there wasn't much there for, if I was playing soccer with my kid, the ball, if the ball goes the wrong way, it would go in. And what I'm thinking, there was not a fence or anything like that, it would be a natural. It would be just, a bunch of bushes, something like that. Lucia,
I would have said, some native plantings like, black-eyed Susans or echinacea. And the key thing is to not fertilize within a 5-foot border to the stream. Because if the fertilizer gets into the stream, it creates all sorts of problems for wildlife. So if we could ask that whatever maintenance you do for the lawn, that you do not do that within a 5 or 7 foot buffer of the stream. And if you could plant some native species along that, you have, it's built rocks, or you have sort of a rock channel built up. It would look lovely to have some native things put in there, which would help. There's this big movement in town, this pollinator pathway. Would help with the butterflies and all the bees that everybody's trying to help.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're open to any proposal. It's just, again, our concern is that significantly large tree.
Yeah,
yeah, well, that's gonna be solved. That's gonna be solved.
Yeah, I mean, we're
By getting
okay
a tree guy out there
proposing-
to.
Yeah, we can
so-
definitely plant,
When
whatever.
I was out there last month, I did notice that tree was damaged.
Yeah,
The first two are not so damaged.
we're happy to keep
Yeah,
the
so
two.
whatever,
Yeah, whatever he says.
Yeah,
Whatever the arborist
and we're
says,
happy to plant,
we'll,
like you said.
He's the expert in that case. so-
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So as long as he's certified by the state of Connecticut.
Yeah,
I guess
anytime
so.
you have a tree removed, you're gonna use an arborist, or somebody, any of the local tree companies all have arborists on staff, and I deal with them all.
Yeah, I mean, and if they say it's stable, it's not, we're happy to even retain all of them. And
Okay, so that's to Rich, the arborist, and it's my understanding that the applicant has agreed to put a native barrier native plant barrier along the stream there to,
And not
Yep.
fertilize.
Right, so the
Until-
trees will
Absolutely.
remain until evaluated separately from the
Right.
permit.
right. And
Absolutely.
you'll make the judgment there, Rich. Okay? Anybody else have, Michael?
I just had a question as a follow-up. So what is, the tree that appears to be distressed, what is the diameter of the tree? Approximately.
It's
So
this
this
one
is
over
the
here.
farthest north?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would,
Your best guess.
estimating, it's probably diameter.
We have it as, I'm sorry, sir.
Sorry.
We have it as a multiple
Understand.
20-inch oak on our survey.
So 20
With a
inches in
bunch
diameter?
of-
Yeah.
Yeah,
With
it
a
has
bunch
Yeah,
like-
but it's a multiple,
Bunch of
Yeah,
trunks.
Swamp oak.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the actual diameter,
No, it's
probably the size of.
If you
that.
said 4 feet or you said 20 inches, it's meaningful, right? So you're on the smaller scale. My next question is, having purchased this property recently, correct?
Yes.
Does it appear that the prior owner maintained the trees?
To be totally blunt, no.
Okay.
Not just the trees, just the overall property as a whole. It was owned by a trust, and I guess the descendants of the deceased were occupying it, and it was under a foreclosure process. So the whole
no
property, inside and outside, are both in despair, and I would consider it inhabitable, but, you know.
Okay, no, the reason why I asked the
There's your
question.
answer as to why they were.
The reason why I asked the question is, I might suggest to you that an approach you may take, knowing that the trees are substantially away from your home, is an arborist would simply say, we need to prune the tree, we need to air out the canopy, we might need to cable some of the limbs together, and I would encourage you to try and keep the trees.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, our biggest concern is just the damage to the house. But if there's any solution keeping the trees, we're happy to do that. And one thing I should mention is they did have a series of, I guess, plants around the deck, which they kind of did maintain a little bit. So I shouldn't really say that they didn't maintain anything. But yeah, overall property condition would be, I would say, neglected.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have an observation, Mr. Chairman, which leads to a question.
I can't wait.
My observation is several members of our commission have strong engineering expertise, which I do not. So as a layman, my observation of Redness and Mead is that this cross-section exhibit is so easy to read and follow. It's very helpful for the layman on this commission that you present to. But which drives to my question, I think you said, I forget your name, sir.
Brian McMahon.
Mr. McMahon, that you might be able, because of the test holes for water,
Correct.
which showed nothing,
Correct.
that you may be able to lower the infiltration and water treatment. Does this plan reflect that lowering of that, or is this prior to your further work on the plan?
That cross-section does not reflect the lowering. That is reflective of the record map that you see here, and that is in your application packages.
So it's possible, am I right, is it that it's possible that these retention galleries could be 18 to 24 inches lower than you display here, is that right?
That is correct, and we hope, and we plan to do so, and it will, if nothing else, it's a cost savings and site work
Sure.
for the owners. But yes, that is our
I would
intent.
imagine, yeah.
Well, and it makes us happier because it's less fill.
It'll be
That's
less
right.
fill in the wetland setback.
That's right.
So can we put that in the,
Well,
Or will you be-
your application to P and Z
Yeah, your
would be
will
updated
reflect
for that,
those
correct?
revised
We don't hold a
plans.
pending application to PD.
Oh, because it's
They don't-
conforming?
It's conforming, yeah.
Okay.
They allow grading within for the drainage and so forth. They don't consider that landfilling and regrading if it's
Then-
within
Then our condition,
25 feet.
then as a condition of approval, we would
Lower appropriately.
Or revise the plan to
Revise the
reflect
plan
what you plan to
to-
build.
So, Mr. McGee, if, I agree with Mr. Millard that this is conceptually very easy to understand. If you could revise this and submit it to Rich so that our package is complete.
Sure.
So, because no one's going to remember in 2 years, you say, well, this was the plan. And you go, no, it wasn't the plan. It was, to move it down a little lower.
Okay. And
If that's possible.
It's absolutely possible. Be happy to do it. I just to be clear, I assume you are suggesting prospective conditions to Rich, and one of
Yes.
this, you're asking to include that in
Right.
there. And we're happy to lower that, and we intend to modify all the plans, obviously, to get a building permit. But I just want to make it clear that it's I don't know if it'll be 18 inches, I don't know if it'll be 16. We're not being restricted to a certain limit. We have every motivation to lower the system. It's less money
Yes.
for the Guptas in site work. I just want to make sure that it wasn't, we are going to lower it,
Okay.
and we'll change all the plans to reflect.
When the decision is made, okay, I guess we're gonna say 18 to 24, which is what you said in the first place, correct? So we'll use 18 to 24 as a guideline in that sense, as a guideline for lowering. Decision to be made
In the field.
in the field, okay? But once made, I want Rich to have it as part of his record.
Okay. And actually, I would expect to make the clear, definite decision prior to building permit. And we'll be happy to update the
Yeah,
file
I would
at that
imagine,
time.
but, okay, okay.
Just going on this conversation, what is the invert? What is the elevation of the invert to the?
Of the bottom of the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 40, the bottom of the concrete gallery is 45.1, I believe. The existing basement slab is, if memory serves me, is 42.6, so it's about 3 feet above the existing basement slab.
You said that earlier.
And the bottom of the test hole, right at the southerly edge of the proposed infiltration system, was right about the same, 42.8. So there's quite a difference between the bottom of the proposed gallery and what we observed as it dried.
Right, so potentially you could go to 43, correct? I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, that would be 24 inches. That would be,
Oh, that is-
that would be 24 inches. It's about 45.1, I think, is the bottom of the gallery now, and 43 would be about 24 inches.
Okay.
I don't know if it would be 43 and a half or 43, but somewhere right in that neighborhood.
I was getting to the point that it could be easy that they find their way to 3 feet versus just 2 feet. So, and we should be, I would be agnostic too,
Okay.
to that.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
if it
we
was
could-
lower, it's lower, okay? That would be a
it's
good
like
thing. and
there's no
it'd be cheaper,
sensitivity
but, you know.
I don't think we could really think about going much lower than that, and here's why. Because we still have to make, all this piping and the drains, the level spreader, the junction box, et cetera, has to remain, and we have to get the pipes pitched to
Well, you
it.
have to
So
get
we'll have a
daylight,
problem,
right.
we would have a problem getting the water out by gravity.
Yep.
That's kind of what I was, editorializing when I said it. Field conditions will
Dictate.
dictate the final decision that your professionals will make. It sounds like it will be good. Thank you, sir.
Okay, anybody else from the commission? Okay, I'll open it up to the public. You, sir, if you'd like to come up, please come up, state your name and address for the record.
This thing on?
Yes, oh, yes.
It's an old comedian line. I think. My name's Wayne Campbell. I live at 383 West Avenue. And it's a property that sort of abuts, it's right about in here, this lower left area. Our property is actually where my fist is, and this part of it adjoins their property. I know about 10 or 15 years ago, there was a small house there, and they put this current house that's there, it's going to be taken down, they put that in. And my first thought was, oh my God, this thing is way oversized for the neighborhood. It's about the size of an aircraft carrier, just kind of looming over the whole thing. We are very concerned about the wetlands because when they put this large house in, we suddenly saw something we had never seen before, and that is ponding. A big pond forms every time it's been rain. I know we had a lot of rain recently, but it's going back 3 or 4 or 5 years. It's been getting worse, it seems like. And the taking trees out of there, with the exception of one tree that I know is dead, I would worry that that would, take away the absorbency of the tree roots, being able to take away some of that moisture. Because right now, it's every time there's a rain, you can just drive by there, and it's a very, very ponded area. I know you're putting like holding tanks in there to try to mitigate it, but that is an issue right now.
Well, just to be clear, I'm not sure of your familiarity with the town regulations. Today, I believe, Mr. McMahon will confirm that when water hits the roof, it runs off, and it runs off, wherever it's pitched to.
Mm-hmm.
When they do new construction, they have to hold the water for 24 hours in a 50-year storm. Okay, and that's the reason they need the culverts. They're the retaining. So they will, from Mr. McMahon's calculations, they can say, okay, well, 50-year storm is what, 6+ inches times the permeable surface equals a certain amount, and they have to be able to hold that for 24 hours and release it, and they'll be releasing it underground so it seeps eventually into in the upland review area into the stream. But over time, that in itself will help mitigate the ponding that goes on. Okay, whether it eliminates or not, it'll be determined by grading and things like that. But there's a regulation that says that all new construction has to hold it for 24 hours. And I think that will be helpful in reducing the ponding that you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of ponding, there's an awful lot of ponding going on in Woodland Park right there. That you watch every time we get a rain, the water level's coming up almost to the street level, and that's been getting worse year by year. There is a culvert there that drains down in, which goes into this stream, which then goes into the other culvert on Holmes Avenue. Also, for wildlife, I know we're not here to help the deer, but we live there and we see it all the time. I've lived there since 1970, so we're talking almost 50 years. A lot of deer use that passageway back and forth. I don't know where they're coming and going to, but especially at night, you see deer all the time going through there. So something else to consider. The one tree that I'm really concerned about is this one right here. It's the one closest to the stream. There are, I don't know, a row of them here running up along here. And the one that's closest to the thing is dead and has been dead for maybe 4 or 5 years. And just in the last year, some very large branches fell down and just missed our house. I'm afraid we're going to be a target if that tree isn't taken care of. So I just wanted to alert you to that one.
Well, we'll have the applicant talk to that when you've completed your section. We'll have the applicant talk to that.
Okay. That's about all I have to say, other than to keep the house within a reason. Do we have any elevations of the house, any shots or artist renderings of what it's going to look like or how it's going to sit?
We do not at this time. I don't know if you could, you should show them.
Oh, you do? Okay. Okay.
It's
All
not a
right.
wetland issue, but you're free to talk to the applicant.
Fine. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Gill.
So just a quick couple of comments to Mr. Campbell's thoughts. As far as the trees are concerned, I think Mr. Gupta is committed to engaging Mr. and Mrs. Gupta's concern is out of safety with the tree in their home. They have agreed to engage an arborist and obviously realize they can't take any of these trees out within the wetland setback without an arborist attesting that it's for safety reasons and the health of the tree is suspect. As far as drainage is concerned, I can understand and appreciate Mr. Campbell's concern over drainage. Drainage is a problem in the area. I think that's partly why Section 880, the town's drainage regulations, are as strict as they are. As I mentioned earlier, we do have to assume that there's nothing on the site now. We don't get credit, therefore, for the existing hard surfaces on the site. We think that the stormwater infiltration system that's being proposed will provide the proper amount of mitigation for this site. And I think that was, I'm trying to think if there was another comment that Mr. Campbell made. I think that was at the trees and the drainage.
It was concerned about the ponding. and the dead, what he described as a dead tree in the corner of the lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not in Mr. and Mrs. Gupta's interest to keep a dead tree on their property, so they'll engage the arborist, and
Yeah.
they're, you know, if it's deemed unhealthy and a safety risk, they're going to have it removed.
Okay? You have your answer?
Yes.
Okay. Wait, is there any other further comment from the public? Okay, any further from the commission?
No, sir.
No? Okay, yes.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I know two things. First, Rich had notified us that there were a couple of neighbors that came in to meet staff and had some general concerns. And he gave them my contact information, said they might call. I did receive a call from one of them at 71 Homes, just north of the site there, adjacent to the property, and their concern was out of more about the elevations of the building, et cetera.
Exactly, they wanted to see elevations also.
The Guptas have met with them, and I understand from the Guptas that those neighbors are satisfied. I don't know if it was Mr. Campbell or not was the second thing, but we'd be happy to meet with any neighbors. We did not get contacted. If it wasn't Mr. Campbell, we did not get, oh, it was Mr. Campbell, okay. And that's number one. And number two, lastly, over the past month, I have been speaking with Rich quite a bit, and I do understand that it is this commission's policy on public hearings to direct staff to prepare certain conditions. We'd like to respectfully request if the commission would consider approving the application tonight, as you have directed staff to prepare those conditions. There are none of those conditions the Guptas have any issue with. I mention it because they have a demolition permit in hand and a contractor ready to demolish the house, and they have some real exposure to getting into, to not getting into the ground sooner than later. So I would ask if the commission could please give us some consideration on that and entertain approving the application tonight.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, I'd like a motion to close the public hearing. Thank you, Lucia. Thank you, Susan. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. What's the sense of the commission? We continue on with the agenda, or would you like to discuss this and decide tonight?
I would guess that the special request is being made because the applicant may fear that the ground is going to freeze. Is that-
Yes.
That's the primary concern.
Here, step up to the microphone, please.
Close the hearing.
We closed, yeah,
Can you-
I think that's safe to say.
I think that's.
That's the,
I'm 99%, I can
All right.
take an educated guess on that one.
I'll take a nod from the audience, so, okay. So that's the reason, for the urgency, okay. Yeah, I can understand that, just to get, wants to get going, okay. I'm personally okay with it, because I don't, given the conditions we've given Rich, I don't think it's, I don't want to make a policy, okay? I don't want to make a policy, but I don't, because I like seeing the draft approval 30 days later after I've had time to consider it, et cetera. But in this case, it's not that intrusive, and I don't think there's anything here that's contentious. So that's my personal opinion. Gunnar?
I'm okay with that. I think they've addressed all of our concerns and the neighbors' concerns and seemed pretty cooperative about the whole thing, so I'm okay with that.
Same.
So what exactly, but we don't have a document to approve, so how do we know that we're,
Well, Rich has the conditions, we've spoken about, and we'll have to put faith in Rich that he'll put the memo together, and we'll have Jim proofread it for typos.
can we approve things via like email, like?
No, we'd have to call a condition, we'd have to call a special meeting, and not that, we've done that in the past where we get, we have to have 4 members.
We have to meet in person, we can't.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, unfortunately, no, we can't, there's no FaceTime. So what we can do is
Well, it's just that
yes.
my concern is that, in principle, we'll all get there in the end. It's just we have had drafts come back and we've had concerns. We'd like to make some changes or additions or thing about hydrology with the last one. And then, so I'm very sympathetic to the applicants because I've been in their position on my own projects. I just feel uncomfortable that I don't know exactly what it is we're approving without seeing it
Do
in
you want
writing.
to tick off all the things that we've said that's going to go into the approval?
Sure.
Does the applicant need our approval to do the demo?
No.
Oh,
Realistically speaking, demo could be completed in a matter of 3 days.
Well, Holly Lane was demo.
was done with before we even.
No,
Yeah.
what I'm getting at is everybody's gonna show up, they're gonna prepare the site, they're gonna do the demolition, they're gonna bulldoze the site, make it flat, clean it up again. 2 weeks have already clicked away. So the reason for the special request is we're having such great weather. There's been no frost on the ground. The excavator isn't gonna break bucket teeth because there's not 3 feet of frost. Okay, we get it, but your construction schedule is winter. So what I'm saying is, you start your demolition and then trying to meet everybody both ways. I mean, I'm not sensitive to either. But at the end of the day, by the time they're done with their demo and their site, and they still have building permit items to
Well,
complete.
the building,
Well, they get the demo
zoning
permit.
won't start review unless there's a wetland approval.
Right,
That would be the hangup.
Okay.
Zoning won't even, they'll accept it, but they won't, Dave Keating won't review it until it's,
For
until this
foundation,
commission's voted. So-
because planning and zoning does foundation.
Correct.
first,
They do
and
a
then
foundation only.
Framing after.
They do a foundation only first. Excuse me.
Some of the comfort I took away from comments you made, Mr. Chairman, and you guys, was that I don't think there was a long list of conditions, A.
Right.
It's a conforming proposal, I think I also heard. It's an older home that's being replaced with a newer home that is well thought out, and adjustments have been made here tonight, which lower the galleries and help the overall project as well. So I was, in an effort to help this family move forward with Michael's good observations on how you actually schedule a building project, I'd be fine with it.
All right. I don't know, I get the sense that, there's an alternative, we can meet in 2 weeks. Rich can have the draft and then, or we can meet, as soon as Rich has the draft, we can call a special meeting and review it then and in Rich's office and, do it at that point, so if that would be more acceptable.
I can call a special meeting if I have a quorum.
Yeah, then four of us would have to show up. We don't have to do it at 7:30, we can do it,
Do it
anytime during the day to,
4:30 in the afternoon.
we can meet anytime here, whenever we all can make it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so is that,
That's probably a better way to go, rather than rush this. We could probably have that done in how long?
Well,
Early
if
next
you-
week?
Yeah, early next week, Monday, Tuesday.
Government in action.
We're not shut down.
It's a good,
Not shut down.
all right. All right, so you want to call a special meeting then next week?
if you
Because
tell me
he's
when.
not going to need, he's not going to need he's not going to need our approval, but if we can give it next week?
Sure, and if that's the case and the hearing is still technically, or you haven't voted, I can circulate the draft to everyone.
Yeah, you can circulate, the public hearing is closed, but.
And then you would need 4 to vote.
But we can all comment by email and then.
Oh, we can all comment on the email, and then when the four get there, they can just,
Yeah.
Correct.
So if you could email it out to us and then schedule something for, I guess,
Well, if-
Tuesday's better for me, but yeah.
Tuesday? Tuesday is the 15th.
It is.
We could just do like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. What do you think? Because you would need to be here, so.
I'm here till 4:30 typically, but if you wanted to do it at 4:30, it doesn't matter, I could,
No, it's
4
not.
o'clock.
He's got to fight the traffic, you know.
Yeah. So
Appreciate
what's
that.
good for you guys?
What, any particular?
Monday's not a good day for me, but Tuesday I can be very flexible to help.
Same here.
Rich. you know,
4 o'clock?
Earlier in the
Michael?
day, 3:30.
Mornings are better than the end of the day.
Gunnar?
I have a 10 o'clock meeting that morning that's going to go for probably an hour. Anytime after that, I'm free,
Okay.
like after 11 o'clock
Okay.
or 11:30.
And
Lunch.
Susan?
Yeah, similar, to make it work.
At 4?
Um,
So the only one who can't do 4 is you. That's more than a quorum.
yeah.
All
Okay.
right, Tuesday at 4.
Is that here?
I'll
Or
have
in
to,
your office?
no, it'll be, I'll get a room, probably 213,
Okay.
or the employee lounge, or whatever's available.
All right.
I mean, they have a conference room off
Yeah,
of PNC there, and who knows?
yeah, I'll just let you
Is
know.
that a happy, is that a happy?
That is a terrific. Thank you. Thank you all for your
Compromise.
consideration and going out of your way.
Okay. And it also saves us from the setting a precedent issue.
Thank you.
All right. That's done, moving on. We've got the other business, minutes of December 5th, 2018.
Oh, yeah, I knew it was. There's some weirdness later on.
Well, okay, looking at the minutes, people have comments?
A couple of small things, but mainly on page 4. There are no comments for 12 Wildcat Road. I don't even remember that one.
Oh, you know what, that's just,
Was that an agent approval?
no, that was something, that was on the earlier agenda. Yeah, that's just,
Out?
I don't know how that got in there. It's a cut and paste kind of thing, it just sort of,
Okay. and then
Thanks,
after-
Brian.
Good night, thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
I'll just cross that out.
Okay, then after, under, oh, what about Talmadge Hill then? Was it supposed to be anything, any comments for that?
Same thing, those are the agent approvals from
Okay.
previous.
And then the paragraph after that, Ms. McKenzie moved to approve the minutes of,
That would have been November.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of words that need to move around there.
All right. Can you give your, Rich, you have the comments?
I have
typo?
those, and I'll take whatever is marked up,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, there are a bunch
Typo.
of cleanups in there.
Okay.
You didn't think we were gonna get 3 out of 3, did you?
Yeah, 3 out of 3 is
Now with Eagle Eye.
And I think Mr. Farrell's name at Fox Hill Builders is Farrell with an A.
Yes, it is.
So that's noted on here.
Okay, great.
Good catch.
Irishman.
Bravo.
Okay, with those changes, can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you, Lucia, thank you, Susan, all in favor?
Aye.
I got to abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay.
Wait, I wasn't here.
Well, that's right, so but we
You
have four.
watched it, you said.
I watched it this afternoon. I did watch the
Yeah,
full
so
tape.
you're fine.
well,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Oh, okay.
no, that's fine, then you can vote.
Yeah, no, I did, I was not here, remember, I had to go to Washington suddenly.
Okay, so,
Help with the wall.
Last month, I went with the wall.
all right, the next topic is election of officers for 2019. Rich, how do you want to proceed?
Well, you can do it one slate. You can keep them the same and just vote one slate, or if you want to change it, That's up,
I don't know, what's the feeling? You know,
usually
one slate?
Leave it up.
Are we, can we just confirm that everyone's happy?
That's what I mean, you have to decide if you,
But no, that you still want to be chairman
Sure.
and vice chairman, clerk, right?
I didn't, I mean, I'm happy to do it. I mean, it's no problem.
Well, you were absent that meeting.
I know,
Yeah,
so
that's,
And you paid the penalty. And you paid the penalty.
it's okay, I'll do it, I'm fine.
okay.
All right, so given that's the slate, okay, all in favor of that slate, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, so we have our officers for 2000. Any other business? I have something after, okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Susan.
Oh, jeez,
My God, all that, Bonnie, you can choose. Okay, who approved that one?
okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Channel 79.